Hello, and welcome back to Cozy with Chelsea. I am Chelsea, your host, and today we are going to be talking about journaling. I actually had a request from a listener to go a little bit more in depth on journaling and why I do it, different forms of journaling, and the benefits of journaling. So let's talk about journaling. So, journaling is something that I have done my entire life, at least since I could start writing. And I remember my first journal. I was so excited to get it. I think it had a lock on it. It might have been pink and fuzzy. I'm not sure. I think I was elementary school age. The memories are fuzzy that far back. But journaling is something that I've always done. It's always been an outlet for me. It's been a creative outlet, but also a way to express my emotions and process the constant noise going on in my head. I've always had a journal. I journaled all throughout middle school, high school, my entire life. I've been journaling. I also have a very serious obsession with paper and pens. I am a lover of paper goods and stationery and finding the exact right pen. For me, that is a 0.5 millimeter pen. I like a thin pen, thin but smooth, but I enjoy all different types of pens. I actually have a favorite pen. Maybe I'll link it somewhere, but yeah. And I actually have a favorite type of journal too. It's by a brand called Mishmash. And I found that journal in actually a store when I lived in New York, and it was a store called, I think it's Goods for the Study, and that is in West Village. I think they have a few locations, but I went to the one in the West Village, and I would frequent that store. But the journal is perfect. It's like the perfect size. I like a smaller handheld situation, and the outside is like really smooth and it's completely blank pages. This might be a hot take or maybe a controversial opinion, but I like a journal with blank pages. I don't like lined because I feel constricted and trapped. I like to be able to write whatever I want on there, whether that's words or if I want to draw something or whatever. Blank slate, baby. But yeah, ultimately it helps with processing, what I have going on. I can write about it. It's a creative outlet for me. I come up with a lot of ideas that way. And it's also just a way to remember my life. So I like to look back on journals. Well, sometimes, depending what portion of my life it was, but but I like to be able to look back and kind of see what I was like, what I was experiencing. And a lot of times I find myself reflecting on my growth when I look at the journal pages. And it's just nice to have kind of like a little time capsule for each portion of my life. Now, there are a lot of benefits to journaling, and perhaps you have heard of them before. But I'm going to run through a few that are at least my top benefits, what I think are the top benefits of journaling. So, the first one I have is that it improves mental clarity. Journaling for me has always been kind of a way to get your thoughts into a cohesive manual entry. It just helps me make sense of the thoughts and the emotions that I have going on. I can get them out into this journal, and I'll talk about methods later. I have a specific way that I do this every day. But there's all different ways to kind of get your thoughts and emotions out on paper. And I really personally like writing on paper with a pen, but I do have an app I use too on my laptop, and I think really any way is beneficial, whatever works for you. I just kind of like the actual using my hand with a pen to write something down. There's just something about it that feels very cathartic. But yeah, it's a great way if I have a lot going through my mind, if I have a lot of thoughts going on, if I'm experiencing a lot of emotions. It can be a way for me to gain mental clarity by putting that all on paper, sorting through it, and getting it all on paper. It is also a way to reduce stress, which kind of ties into that mental clarity, but Again, if you're experiencing a lot of emotions or you have something going on, writing that down and getting it out, I really do think it's a way to process through whatever it is you're feeling. So for me, it can definitely reduce stress by just sorting through it, sorting through whatever I'm feeling. If I'm feeling sad, angry, happy, whatever it is, I can get it out on paper and really be able to kind of sort through all of that and reduce some stress and anxiety. It also fosters creativity. So, with journaling, there are so many different ways to do it. So this is where you can get as creative as you want. There's a lot of methods you can look up and I'll go through them, but there's so many different forms. There's simply just like journaling, freehand writing, whatever comes to mind. There is junk journaling where you kind of paste pictures of things, and scrapbook journaling, and there's just so many different kinds. So get creative with it. My journals have obviously just words written in them, entries, but I will also draw in the journal sometimes. I've had a few times where I've been on vacation and I want to remember a view. And yes, you can take a picture of a view, but there's something about drawing it that really helps me remember it. And when I look at my own drawing, it brings me back to that exact moment I was in when I drew it. And maybe that has something to do with the amount of time it takes to draw something instead of just take a picture of it. Different places I visited. I know I did one in Hawaii. It was my friend's 30th birthday, and I drew a scene from the Airbnb. It was gorgeous. When I went to Sedona with my partner, same thing. I drew a view of our hotel room, which was overlooking the mountains, and the moon was always right above it, and just gorgeous and beautiful, and a way to commemorate that. It can also bring emotional healing. So for me, journaling has always been, like I said, a way to get through and process those emotions. But I think it's really great if you're experiencing trauma or grief or really any experience that you're having, you can use it as a way to, as a method of healing emotionally. It also provides perspective. So, like I said, sometimes I'll look at the previous journal entries and have an entirely new perspective than I did at that time. But even when you're in the moment, it can just give you an opportunity to kind of view it in a different way. You could even use a journal prompt for something that you're going through and maybe take a situation and think about how somebody else would view it. Just kind of lets you open up that perspective a little bit. And then I touched on this too, but it does create an archive. So I have so many journals. I don't throw them away. I keep them all. And sometimes I enjoy looking at them, sometimes I don't. But I think it's very cool to have kind of an archive of all these different periods of your lifetime, and you can look back on them. Imagine looking back 20 years from now about what you were writing and going through. And it's just a way to kind of have an intimate archive and something that you could reference. And maybe your family, your future children, I don't know, maybe they want to read about that day you, I don't know, fell off your bike. That's a bad example, but but whatever. Maybe they want to know about that. It's also a way to build confidence. So a lot of times for me, journaling was an outlet when I was experiencing something emotional. However, as I got older and was kind of working through all of that emotionally, I also was really cognizant of the fact that I wanted to remember my wins and the positives and the growth that I've had. So don't forget to use journaling as a way to celebrate yourself. I love writing about, how much I've grown throughout the years, accomplishments that I've had, and any celebration or win. I really enjoy writing about that now as well. So there are so many different methods of journaling. I'm going to start with the one that I love the most, and I have talked about this before on the podcast, so apologies if this is the 5th time you've heard this, but I subscribe to something called the Morning Pages, which I got from the book The Artist's Way. It's by Julia Cameron, and The Artist's Way, again, you might have heard me talk about this, but it's a book that is really, I guess the intention is to unblock yourself creatively if you're feeling like you're blocked, but you can use it just in general if you want to be creative or create something or anything of the sort. But she has a practice called the morning pages, which is when first thing in the morning upon waking, you write in your journal and you just write 3 pages right away. It's really stream of consciousness. You're not supposed to have an intention. You're not supposed to have something specific you're writing about. You're just writing what's in your mind. And the point is, it's a way to get it all out, whatever you're experiencing, thinking about, feeling, put it out on paper in those 3 pages. And then it's supposed to allow space and room for more so that you can create. So I've been doing this for, I don't know, 3-4 years now, and it's changed my life, truly. I wake up, I write 3 pages in my journal, and sometimes that can feel painful because it's like, what am I going to write about today for 3 pages? Especially when you're doing it every day. But you just kind of keep writing and you'll be surprised what comes out. But that's my favorite one. That's what I do every day, but that's just one method. So if that sounds like something you want to do, I would definitely recommend experimenting with that. But there are a ton of other different methods too. You also have a gratitude journal. So I think at this point, most of us have heard about gratitude and the benefits of being grateful, but you can have a journal that is specifically where you write down what you're grateful for. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of different methods out there. I know about one from the book Simple Abundance. I know about a few others too. What I do personally is I keep a journal right by I keep it on my nightstand. And I try every night to write down what I'm grateful for that day. And I don't have this super regimented. I'm already regimented in my morning pages, so I don't try to put too much pressure on myself, but if I feel inspired or I'm feeling grateful, I'll crack that thing open and write down a few different things that I'm grateful for that day. And I like doing it before bed. You certainly don't have to do it just before bed. You could do it any time of day. But I kind of like it because it helps me relax and settle in. It's my nighttime routine. And it kind of helps me reflect on the day in a positive way too. I think oftentimes we're just like living and doing and going. And I like to take a moment before bed and really think about everything that I'm grateful for that day. And I always say, if you can't think of something to be grateful for, you can just be grateful that you're alive. Or that you ate that day, or that you have a piece of clothing. I mean, there are so many things you can throw on there. But hopefully you can think of something maybe a little bit more specific. Like today, I had my hair cut by my best friend and it looks fabulous. So that's what I'm grateful for today. Now, there is junk journaling. I've been doing this only for a year and I'm definitely not consistent with it, but it is just a very fun and creative activity. So junk journaling to me kind of looks like scrapbooking. It's where you put a bunch of junk in a journal. So that's why it's called that. But you can cut out like clippings from magazines or newspapers, or you could print stuff out, or you could put a receipt on there. I mean, really anything you can glue. That's what I do. I glue it into the journal. And you kind of just put it all on there. And yeah, that's a creative outlet for me. I actually think that book, Simple Abundance, she also has a practice for this. I think she calls it something else, but her practice is a journal like that. It's like a junk journal, but as you see anything in your surroundings that appeals to you for whatever reason, it doesn't need to be so specific or intentional. It could just be like, oh, I like this sweater on this person in this Free People magazine. I don't know. Whatever it is, you can cut that out and just put it in there. And you keep doing that until you have a journal full of images that appeal to you. And I think the idea there is to be present and aware of your surroundings and also see what you're drawn to. I think that could be used as kind of like a manifestation tool as well. Now, speaking of manifestation, there are also manifestation journaling methods. There's a few different ones. There's one that I really like, and this is the practice of writing a letter from your future self to your current self. So this really puts you in that mind frame and lets you visualize what you want your life to look like. That could be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is that you want to achieve or have, you can write a letter from your future self. And my advice when you're doing this would be to really imagine how it feels to be that person. I think that's a huge piece of manifestation. It's not just like, I want a yacht, or or hello current self, I'm on a yacht tanning in the Bahamas. I don't know, whatever. I think it's more about like, how does it feel to be where you are now? Like, I feel so happy and at ease and proud of myself for this specific thing that I wanted to achieve. I feel proud of myself for purchasing a yacht. That's really not my dream, but if it's yours, awesome. But yeah, it just really helps you visualize what that life looks like, but also feels like. Now, this is something I've done. This is not like a method or a tool or anything, but actually, this is something that worked for me. And in my journal, I wrote down everything that I wanted in a partner. And this was before I met my fiance. And it's a few pages long, but it was very specific, not so much in what that person would look like or anything like that, but just how I would feel around them and what our life would be like together. And I met my fiance less than a week after I wrote that entry, which is crazy. And everything on that list is exactly what he's like and exactly what our life is like together. It's incredible, honestly. So that worked for me that time. But I remember the feeling when I was writing that, and it was like, this is what I want or nothing else. And then I got it. I think it was like 6 days later. So just a really incredible and powerful tool. I don't even know what that would be called, but yeah, it was something that really worked for me. I mean, I guess that it kind of goes with visualizing, right? When I was writing that letter, I was visualizing what I wanted that person to be like and how I wanted to feel around them. So kind of goes hand in hand. Now, with manifestation, there are other methods. There's the 555 method, and there's also the 369 method. I personally, well, actually, I did try the 369 method, but I've never done these consistently myself. But I'll talk about them, and maybe it's something that might align with you and seem like something that you want to do. The 555 method, I think it's actually the 55 by 5 method. But with that one, you come up with an affirmation and you write it 55 times a day for 5 days. And the idea is doing that embeds that affirmation or belief into your subconscious to manifest it. So that's something you could do. I just know myself, and I know that I'm not going to write 55 affirmations 5 days in a row. But again, that's just me. Maybe you would love to do that. And then there is the 369 method, which is kind of similar in that it's an affirmation, right? So you take an affirmation. I'll just come up with one. I feel so successful in my business, and I'm so proud of myself for everything that I've accomplished. So take something like that, some sort of affirmation, and you would write it 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times at night or in the evening. And again, same idea is you're programming that into your subconscious. It's supposed to kind of amplify the manifestation method. I did actually try this once, and again, I was like, okay, it just feels very regimented. And I like to be a little more loosey-goosey with my manifestation journaling. But again, whatever works for you. I know that's worked for a lot of people. So those are a few different methods. I'm sure there's plenty more. Okay, and then for the last method I have here, this would be audio or like voice journaling. So if you are someone who just does not like writing and you still want to have a way to get your words out and maybe have an archive as well, you can just record yourself. Record yourself talking for the day. I have done this before with voice notes, the app on my phone. You could do like I'm doing right now, talking into a camera. I have actually recorded like vlogs of myself just for myself in the past so that I could remember something that I was going through. And I think that it can be just as beneficial as journaling. It's not like writing has to be the only tool that you're using. You can use that audio recording or video recording as a way of journaling as well. This is also great if you kind of want to do it like quickly, because let's be real, writing takes time. You can't write as fast as you can talk. So if you're limited on time or you're traveling or you want to, get something down, you can record it. And at this point now, a lot of the tools and softwares have transcription and captions, and you could even take that and turn it into text too. I know a lot of people actually do that for writing, is they'll do an audio recording and turn it into text. So that's an option too. Okay, so I've talked about a few methods. Which of those sound fun to you? Just do it, try one. But how are you going to try one? How do you get started? So my first advice would be choose a medium. So that is, figure out if you're writing it on paper with pen. Figure out if you want to use an app. I have one on my Mac laptop, and it's called One Day. I think that's what it's called. And that's my favorite app. I've tried a lot of different ones. I've tried ones just on, the browser. I've had Penzu, a few others, and I really like One Day. I like the format. I like that it's an actual app, so I don't have to go online to use it. And you can have it on your phone and your computer if you have a Mac. I'm not sure about the Android situation, to be honest, but it syncs back and forth. So I really enjoy One Day. But my OG and favorite is a paper journal. Now, if you're doing paper, why not go find a journal that's really cute and lovely and something that you're excited to write in? I have so many different journals. I told you about my favorite, which is Mishmash, but there's so many. Go to your local bookstore and pick one up. Find one that calls to you. Or if you're doing, audio journaling, then use the voice notes app or figure out, however you want to do that. My second piece of advice for getting started would be to have a realistic intention. How often do you want to journal? How often are you actually going to journal? I am a daily journaler, but I have been doing this since I was 8. So maybe you think, okay, I want to do this every morning or once a week, check in. Maybe it's once a month. I don't know. Whatever feels good for you. How often are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? Where are you going to do it? So for me, I'm doing it daily in the morning at my dining table while I'm drinking my coffee, which is my ritual. And that's my third piece of advice, is to create a ritual around it. So for me, I like for everything to feel good all the time, ideally. But if you could have some sort of journaling ritual that feels good to you, like I said, I do it in the morning with a coffee, but what does that look like for you? Maybe you go to your local bookstore and write in your journal, or your local cafe, or you write in your bed, in your pajamas. I don't know, whatever works for you, and whatever that ritual looks like. So like I said, you don't have to journal every day. I think consistency is more important than frequency. So it's not like it needs to be, I do this every day at this time, and this is how I'm going to have my practice that's really going to benefit me. I think any sort of like regular consistency, whatever that looks like for you, is much more important. That's why I think it's essential to have a realistic intention when it comes to journaling. And then a few books on journaling, like I said before, The Artist's Way would be my recommendation. Also, Simple Abundance. There's a few others as well. There's Journal Sparks, and there's another book called Start Where You Are. So maybe check all of those out too if you want to get some inspiration on how you journal and what you want to journal about. Okay, that's my quick guide on journaling and why I love it so much and all the different kinds of journaling there are in the world. And you know what? If you want to be really creative, maybe come up with your own journal. Maybe there's a different format that you want. Maybe you have like a daily journal and you have a check-in and you have a activity tracker and then you have, a portion where you write. I mean, whatever that looks like. Yeah, don't feel constrained by any of those methods. Do whatever you want. If you want to throw some poetry in there, if you want to journal and sketch something while you're journaling, or maybe you just want to sketch. Maybe that's your journaling, is just drawing your day. Whatever that looks like, get creative with it and have fun with it. Okay. So I always end with what's making me cozy this week. And I am actually getting married in a week, actually a week from today. Well, from when I'm filming this. I might be married or close to getting married by the time this comes out. So what's making me cozy this week is writing my vows for my wedding. It's something that I've been working on for a few months, but I have finalized them at this point. And I think so far, that is my favorite part of planning for a wedding. There's a lot of parts of planning a wedding that are not that fun. I mean, they're fun, but some of it can just be a little stressful and overwhelming. But writing my vows was really a practice that let me reflect on why exactly I'm getting married, and that's because I love my partner and want to marry them. And that was just a very cozy activity for me. It made me feel warm and loved and happy and joyful and grateful for my life and the fact that I get to marry someone who I really love, and I'm just so blessed to have a life full of love. So that's making me really cozy this week. So thank you for listening. I will link my blog and my website and my socials and all of the things. And if you could rate and review this on Apple Podcasts, if you're on Spotify, if you could also rate it, please leave a comment. I would really appreciate it. That helps me a lot to get this podcast out there and get people seeing cozy. Yeah, and that's all I have for today, guys. I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that if you have a journaling practice already, maybe you can spice it up a little bit. And if you don't journal, you can try it out and see how that feels for you and see if it's something that is helpful and useful and lets you process your stuff and get creative. So have a cozy week and have fun journaling. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.